Overcrowding at Oklahoma prisons is creating a financial domino effect that is cutting into many county budgets. Tulsa County is asking voters to pass a tax to expand its jail, due in part to the number of state inmates it must house. What to do with a growing inmate population is a common theme at county jails across Oklahoma.
For several years, Oklahoma state prisons have been filled to capacity. During that time, the Tulsa County Jail has been over capacity because it's housing inmates who should be transferred to state facilities.
It runs about 125 to 150 per day. We get a count every morning, and every day I send a letter to the Department of Corrections saying that we're overcrowded, and they write a letter back to me that says you have 1,714 beds. We'll take all of the inmates over 1,714. But they never come and do that.
Tulsa County Sheriff Stanley Glanz says although his jail has 1,714 beds, 1,650 is considered a manageable number of inmates.
An example may be you have 20 juvenile beds in an area and you only have 15 inmates in those 20 beds. So that's 5 beds you really can't use. If you're in the women's section, you may have room for 50 inmates and you only have 40 in there. Well, you can't put males or anyone else in there, so there's 10 beds you can't use. So when you look at the manageable beds in a facility, it's normally about 90 to 95% of the beds available to you.
At any given time, the Tulsa County Jail is housing 150 more inmates than what is considered manageable. So to compensate for the shortage of beds, some jail inmates sleep in temporary beds, commonly referred to as boats. Tulsa County has an ongoing lawsuit against the Oklahoma Department of Corrections for not relieving the jail of state prisoners.
Part of their argument in the courts was that we had never billed them for our true cost.
In response to the state's argument, Tulsa County hired a private consulting company to estimate the county's cost per inmate.
We get $27 a day from the state of Oklahoma. They believe that our true cost is $64.13 an inmate. That's with a population that's manageable.
Sheriff Glanz says Tulsa County is going to submit a January bill to the Oklahoma Department of Corrections reflecting the $37 a day per inmate discrepancy. He says Tulsa County will confer with its attorneys on whether to seek compensation prior to January. Glanz says other counties are facing similar problems.
Do you think all jails across Oklahoma are getting shortchanged?
Absolutely. Yes, and if they would have the same type of studies done, I think they would find that their cost is much more than just their annual budget.
The Muskogee County Jail can only hold 282 prisoners, but Sheriff Charles Pearson says right now he's responsible for housing 330 inmates.
We've got about 75 that are waiting transport to DOC.
How long have they been waiting?
We've got some that's been here up to 8 months. Last time I checked, I haven't checked it today. We've had them up over a year.
Because the Muskogee Jail is at capacity, 17 of its prisoners are being held at other jails. And Pearson says that is causing Muskogee County to lose money.
I'm paying other counties $32 a day to hold my inmates when DOC is paying me $27.28.
To compensate for jail overcrowding and the need for more supervision of inmates, Muskogee County has purchased a state-of-the-art camera system which monitors inmates in each of the jail pods. The cameras allow jail supervisors to see what is going on at all times, either through their computers or cell phones. Sheriff Pearson says the county is losing money each day because of the overrun of state prisoners.
We're not breaking even, but the state's making a killing.
Sheriff Pearson says his break-even cost is about $35 a day. MGT America is the consulting firm that estimated the Tulsa County inmate cost at more than $64 a day. Sheriff Glanz says it's the same company the Department of Corrections hired in 2007.
It's kind of ironic. MGT did a study for DOC, Department of Corrections, and they said, well, when you're keeping inmates in county jails at $27 a day, you're really saving money because it costs you more to bring them to prison and house them. So the more you can push back down into the local jails, the better it is for your budget. And that's the same company that came in and looked at our our facility and made a determination.
The Oklahoma Department of Corrections has no authority to increase the amount of money it pays to counties to hold state prisoners. DOC Deputy Director Dr. Laura Pittman says the rate is set by lawmakers.
The last time that changed, based on what's stated in statute, it went to that rate January 1st of 2007.
So these county jails haven't had an increase in 7 years.
According to statute, correct.
Pittman says as of January 29th, DOC was at capacity with 26,688 prisoners. That figure does not include the inmates DOC is paying counties $27 a day to keep. As of January 30th, more than 1,800 state prisoners were being held in 70 county jails across Oklahoma.
With DOC, and they're full too, and I understand that. But what they're paying us, they can't keep them for.
Dr. Pittman agrees.
It varies by security level. The rates for fiscal year 13, started at community work centers would be the lowest at $35.12 a day. And then if you go to maximum security, it's going to range to $87.01 a day.
The shuffling to avoid overcrowding at the county and state levels is expected to continue for the foreseeable future.
We're anticipating an additional 450 to 500 offenders by the end of fiscal year 14, which ends June 30th of 14. And if our growth for fiscal year 15 remains the same as 14, it'll be an additional 750 to 850 offenders. And that's if nothing changes.
To alleviate current overcrowding and projected inmate growth, members of the Tulsa County Board of Commissioners have authorized a special spring election to vote on enlarging the Tulsa jail. Voters will be asked to approve a 15-year sales tax to build 4 new housing units at a cost of $9.3 million.
We have a lot of mentally ill in our facility, and we don't have the place really to deal with those people, so we're asking for a mental health pod. We also have a large increase in juveniles, and we're asking for a juvenile pod and then 2 general housing units.
State prisoners backed up in the Tulsa County Jail would fill more than one of those proposed new pods. If voters don't approve the sales tax, the county will have to look at other options to deal with mounting safety concerns for both inmates and staff.